Hi, I'm IKEA, and for today's video, I want to have an in-depth look into watch alts and how that is done currently, as the one endgame that has come in with this season has shaken up things in how we can do watch alts, as we no longer have to go through Warlords of New York expansion to get to level 40. We just need to get to level 40 to get our watch and our watch points. So I want to go over some of the things I've learned as over the last few weeks. I have actually done a bunch of watch alts, many more than I actually needed, mostly just to try out different methods. And at this point, I feel I have tried out most of them, if not all of them. And I wanted to discuss my findings and what has become my way of doing it, both solo and in group, and also in group if you have friends at level 40. And what that basically means for doing watch alts. And along the way, we'll discuss some of the tips and tricks that exist, as we'll go over when to use your SHG requisition and how to level up and how to gear up as well, as that can be handy. I'll be going solo for this run, but we'll be discussing many of the other ways of doing it. And I'll be going through the DZ method. Along the way, I'll basically just step in as we'll go and cut this up, as I'll do the start, and then at important parts, I'll basically record another clip. Here, let's start at the start of it, which is that we click New Agent, and this one is a handy one to know. Of course, you can do Warlords of New York start. There are benefits to that, but I would highly recommend the DC start, so the normal main campaign start. And we're going to pick that, and to explain why, if you at any point go to New York, you will lose your SHD requisition project. You will lose all your projects, but that's the one we mostly care about. I'm just going to grab whatever character. I don't really care what they look like, mostly because I'm going to completely cover them up in a second anyway. That's what I just do with watch alts. As we go out here and meet Agent Sanders once again, as many of us have done many a times. Let's actually cover them up right away as well. Actually, let's go with the outfit. And they say to touch grass. You know what? What's better than touching grass? Being grass. Let's just put on a ghillie suit and just have grass touch us, which is much better. To go back to the DC start, the DC start allows you to have the SHG requisition project, which is pretty handy. Also, it is a little bit faster way of reaching to level or to reaching the point where you can be basically going and doing the other things, because with the New York start you need to reach Haven. That does take a little bit longer. Usually getting to Haven takes about 12 minutes, just as an average of several of my attempts of getting there. And this method takes usually under 10, to the point where you can get enough the resources as well for SHG requisition. It's actually even getting to the point where you're boosting, you are even that seems shorter. We'll pick up this agent, which is actually the trigger point. You don't need to kill everybody there. You just need to get this agent. We're of course gonna skip all the cutscenes. And yeah, that's because of that, the DC start is the way to go for me. We do get, because you kind of end up at the same spot, because
we still live in fear
at the point that we reached Quartermaster in a minute, we'll go free the White House.
Real danger is out there.
Meet Manny,
waiting.
Hit the Quartermaster, get our quarters, and then, of course, boost to 30 at that point. At that point, we're basically at the same point with both of them. Going to New York will give you one extra level, because you do basically get a quick level at the start of it. It puts you at almost the end of 31, or at the end of 30, so you hit 31 basically in that run to Haven. But in this setup, we also get a free level, and that is kind of handy, and we do get to keep our SHG requisition. Going to New York at any point, even with this, you lose those projects until you finish New York. There's also other benefits, which is one of the things that exists now, and this might change in the future.
We are in need of
the
immediate assistance.
DC started
Need immediate
characters
assistance from
will
any
have
nearby
actually
agents.
a different targeted loot if you get them to 40. Although actually at 30 already they have a different targeted loot. And that means that you have a second map that you can have targeted loot on. And of course, if you just either have somebody to keep the world alive, so if somebody joins you and then you can swap your characters, for instance, that way, you can load up on that character, or what would be, for instance, this character. Somebody else would join you, and then you could go swap to your main character, not even putting a build on the alt, basically. Or of course, you could just put a build on them, and you have two different sets of targeted on the world. And if you're anything like me, I do enjoy if there is targeted on the zones. Well, yeah, well, farming for gear and such is nice with Countdown. It also gets boring. Also, you can't, for instance, with the global events, you can't have those active, so you can't earn stars. Bounty cheesing is pretty good, but also, of course, yeah, leveling is much more done in the open world. Good zones, especially if they are weapon types or gear slots, can be really handy because you get some exotic components along the way, especially if you're further in your journey, if you're much more towards endgame and have a decent expertise level that you can put expertise grades onto items. Exotic components kind of become the bottleneck for most people. So yeah, you can get a few more out of those if you can have an extra targeted, and that can be actually really handy. We've been making quite a lot of use of that, especially as well that you can, yeah, if the targeted isn't right for one. But one important thing is that that targeted does not contain all of the gear sets and brands that exist. So it's basically missing everything from season 1 to 10, both in brand and in gear sets. That was already the case last season when World Tier 5 just existed. World Tier 5 had a different targeted than level 40, and this is still that level, or this is still that World Tier 5 targeted. So some of the more recent stuff like Breaking Point, Aegis, and X0 are in there, and whatever brands came in with those seasons as well. Those are on that map, but not the other gear sets that were, yeah, season 1 to 10. So there's no strikers, for instance, on that map, which makes it a lot harder if you're, for instance, trying to use that as your first character, but you just shouldn't. This is much more for like advanced players. And yeah, this is the run to the point where we can get ourselves situated to boost to level 30. Because at this point, once we have our first skill, we can go into the store here and go into add-ons and scroll to the back here, and this level 30 boost puts us basically at the same spot as the Wony would be. And also we're freed up now as well, in the same way. We don't need to do the Haven run at this point anymore. Also, of course, at this level 30 point, we could already get account shared resources, account shared blueprints, which we're going to do in a second. Also, we have the points to spend on some of the specializations, and we're going to do that. And we're going to go get the resources as well to later on, not at level 31, but later on in the run, use our SHE requisition for a free level. I'm going to do that at 31 at this point. We'll discuss that when we're at that point. But you definitely don't want to do it at 30 or below. I'm just gonna grab all of the things here in Demolitionist. I'm just gonna use that as my specialization, mostly because it is a good enough specialization. The extra crit chance from the laser is actually kind of nice, and the grenade launcher makes for an okay tool, but we'll be mostly in the DZ where we won't be able to use it. And yeah, we're gonna go to Inaya and get account shared blueprints and account shared resources. This, at this point, we are actually pretty well set. We could, for instance, as well, if we had some currency, craft some of these mods, because it can be handy, of course, to have the extended mags and stuff. What that means, though, is that we need some currency. Now, we'll discuss that part in a second, how to get currency and how to get gear. But I'm already actually pre-geared, or have geared set up for a level 30 run. We'll grab those parts here, as they are level 31 gear. I was forgetting about that, but yeah, they're at the end of things, and then there's all of these purples. It is a level 31 gear, as this is my third account, and I don't actually have anything in my level 30 library. So I had to choose to be at level 31 to recalibrate stuff, because yeah, I do of course want those recalibrations. If you have stuff in your level 30 library, you can actually make a level 30 set, which is a little bit easier, because yeah, you can just put that on now. But we'll have to struggle through the set that the game gives us to start off with here at level 30. As yeah, it is a pretty bad build. It doesn't make sense at all unless you know that in gear sets, in gear 1.0, 3-piece TNH was the crit pieces, and Gila had extra mod slots, and Fenris was always ARs. Then it makes a lot more sense. But yeah, of course, it's in gear 2.0 now, so it makes a lot less sense. Yeah, let's discuss actually getting some credits. And for an easy way to make credits, we're gonna leave that character there for a second. You could do this as prep, of course, as well. We're gonna do a countdown. I'm gonna grab this character. I'm gonna just go and do it countdown, just set to whatever targeted. We're gonna just take all of those items and put them in the stash and then sell them with that character. You could do bounties, but actually at level 30, bounties don't give much. At level 31, it does scale up a lot higher all of a sudden, and you do actually get pretty good benefits from doing bounties, but not at level 30, interestingly. So this is a much better method. And of course, yeah, we're just gonna matchmake for a challenging countdown. I'm just gonna get an invite in a second. And I'm actually gonna just go do this countdown. If you're interested in countdown itself, there's already, of course, a guide for that on my channel. And I'll see you when I get out of here, and we'll show that for a second and then go back to that character. And here we're back from a countdown run, as I just did. A pretty easy one. And I came back with around 50-ish items. I picked everything up as junk. Everything's as junk in here. I'm gonna just go through here, and everything that is new, as yeah, that's for my field proficiency. All of this is going into the stash as junk as well. In a second, we'll swap to the other character, and at that point, I will sell all of this. And the reason for it is to get that currency. That currency will help us get some gear together, and also just to have a little bit of spending money for recalibrations and stuff. I was set to AR, so there's a ton of ARs in here. Of note is as well that countdown is a good way, although of course just filling up your stash. If you're going to do it, what I could have done, what I usually will do in the future, is just to, when I know like tomorrow I'm gonna start a watch alt run, I'll just toss a bunch of items in there that I don't care about. Of course, none of the exotics or anything. I'm not gonna sell those. We're gonna deconstruct those. But yeah, just some of the stuff that I've looted out. Countdown runs are pretty good as well, as you get a little bit more currency for named items, and you're guaranteed 8 named items if you kill all the hunters. We're gonna swap back to that other character. And nowadays as well, you have an easy option. You don't even have to take it out. The stash is actually shown at the vendor. So you can sell directly from your stash, which we're gonna use here. Then we're gonna discuss actually, there is a little bit of a setup thing that you can do and you should do. So yeah, this is the items in their inventory from just the jinx. We're just gonna sell all those, and then yeah, from here we can just sell from the stash. So all of those items that went into there, they're all in here. We're gonna sell them. That one run was as there. It's usually around 25k that you get from that. And that is enough to get a lot of things. So here first, I'm gonna, as I do have the account shared blueprints, I do want a certain, especially the extended mags, of course. So having the especially for LMGs and having the sturdy mags, and also having the 9mm mag. Some weapons, as for instance, one of the weapons that I'm going to use will need that. So that is, as I'm quickly looking through here, this one. Well, actually, no, that's no longer the weapon I'm using. I'll even take the pistol flashlight just for giggles. And here, what I mostly will take is having the 5 crit chances for the muzzle, for 7.62 and 5.56, just so we have those at the ready, and also for 9mm. That starting money lets us do this, because yeah, each of these does cost 1k at level 30, so that eats up a little bit of our money. But then here I have a prepared set, as we took out already. You do want to actually do this and get a set together. This is a thing that you will have to do basically once, because you should keep it afterwards. You should just hang on to it. As yeah, I have a level 30 Emmeline's Guard, or 31 Emmeline's Guard, a level 31 Carbine 7, and then yeah, a bunch of level 31 gear. And again, that's because I do have a level 31 library filled up on this account. This is my third account, so it's not as well prepped as other accounts. For instance, on my second account, I could totally go with without that, because as well I would need, I got lucky for instance with this chest, but for this backpack I would need vigilance, for instance, or I would want vigilance, so I wouldn't have any of those talents at 30. So I'm choosing to have that at 31. But that means now that as well we need to reach 31, and that's actually not that hard. There is actually several ways of quickly getting to 31. One of them is, for instance, here this Coney Island is a very easy starter mission, and it gives you a decent amount. It gives us around 120, I believe, at level 30. And that is quite a bit of that level, and it is just making it to the safe house here, which is literally 20 seconds. The cutscenes are longer than than if you were to watch the cutscenes, it would be longer than the run to here and then jumping down. Because yeah, we're at level 30 with barely any XP there.
That will be your base for this operation.
And we're gonna get in here and then go here, and
safe
and
area
now
detected.
we're already a third of the way there.
Whenever you're ready to start this off,
There's also a comm here. Comms are a
right
decent
above
amount
you.
as well, because yeah, each of them is 4.6k.
Great.
That's
So we need to
basically
talk
yeah,
about your next
that's
project.
like one, just a little bit over 1%, but yeah, they do add up.
Please don't make me create something like that again.
So we're gonna go back to DC and not listen to them. The other one is going here to Pentagon, which has kind of the same thing, but it's a little bit longer mission. We're gonna cut that part out of me getting there. I'll come back in when we're at the point where we get the XP. But yeah, there's this one. We're gonna go grab that, and yeah, I'll be back when right before completion. And yeah, here we're coming up on the end of the Pentagon. This took about 5 minutes to get to here, with some skipping of cutscenes and such. It isn't too long, and also our level 30 gear that we just get, because I'm still of course on just that random jumbled mess that you get. It is the same every time. It isn't random at all or anything, so it is what it is. And yeah, once we get completion here, which is opening the gate here, we're not gonna do the mission, of course. We don't want to really spend those amounts of times. We just want to get to 31 as quickly as we can. And this is kind of one of the faster ways I've seen so far, but also as well, if you have any other ideas or other things that you've been doing,
They know
maybe
you're inside the perimeter, but they don't know where you're going.
of course,
Move fast, hit
feel
hard,
free to
and you've
share.
got a shot.
This is a collaborative effort, this one basically has. Even to this point, I've got, yeah, had people just say the things they were trying, and that kind of being useful, or just having discussed it with a few people. I'm also just gonna grab this random key, because why not? that was the point that we needed to reach to, and yeah, we have unlocked Tidal Basin, which is totally on this map, guys. Yeah, we are over like 2/3. Each of those is basically 1/3, and then we have a little bit of kill XP, but it is a little bit of it. And yeah, we're gonna go back to Washington DC. I'm gonna go actually to Campus. Campus has a lot of comms. I believe actually it's like 10 or so comms, which is another 10%, which we can grab there. Then we're actually going to go to Theater and grab a bunch of comms there, because there's also a lot of them there. We don't want to use a SHG requisition yet. We do have that project. We do have this project at the ready. This one. We do need components for it, which is something we're going to go get as well in between. I'm going to already put the rest of the items into there. At this point, as you can kind of see behind my head, this is 124k's worth of XP. That could be handy to, you know, just get to level 31. But actually at 31 and beyond, just as it is at 40, it is a full level's worth. So that is a lot more useful at those points than it is now. Anyway. Here, we're just gonna go around, and there's a ton of comms here. There's one outside here, just that side. And yeah, these are all with Henry. And yeah, we'll come back in a second. And yeah, I went around and collected a bunch of collectibles there. I went around the entirety of Campus. You just go in a big line. And one of the good things about the Campus one especially is the whole subset is there. So yeah, if you get that one outside there as well and then go around this whole area, you'll just find them all. Completing a subset as well gave 23k XP. Then I came here to the theater area, grabbing all of the ones in here. If you go downstairs, climb down for the ropes, there's a comm like there. There's a comm leading out. There's a way out on the southern end. You grab a few comms. You grab one comm there. You grab one comm on the left side here, one on the right side here. If you go up this street where I am in, there's a comm here. They'll get marked on your map as you get close to them. And yeah, the last comm is kind of in the trash area here, like here somewhere. So I grabbed all of those, and I'm pretty close. I could actually grab one more comm to get to 31, which is one of the goals. But of course, I can also just go do an activity. For instance, each of these activities is 20k. You wouldn't want to activity it all the way, especially as well, because I'm not well geared. So instead, what I'm going to do is actually take this territory control along the way, and then as well as we, for this week, what do we need for the project? I think we need components, and yeah, one of the better spots for components is here, because I do want that project at the ready, and actually I am going to grab it at 31. We'll discuss why I'm doing so then. But it's usually better to leave it for a little bit later. And if you need water, the water is, there is more than 250 water here. If you need food, there is more than 250 food there. Also, there's back here a lot of food. So yeah, actually going to the components, I'm going to grab the food over there. And we're going to grab this territory control along the way, getting me to 31. We'll jump back in once I am 31. Having cleared out that territory control, gonna get the completion here. This will be enough for us to reach level 31. And yeah, I'm gonna grab and equip this set that I've prepared earlier. But of course, this took up some time to do. You need to do this basically once, going while you're leveling. And yeah, it is highly recommended. And the way that I went about it is I went and actually farmed for the high-end pieces. There is actually already targeted on the zones. You can't bring up targeted, but actually if you're hovering over a zone, as actually for instance, I'm hovering over this zone, foggy bottom, on the upper right, you can see actually increased loot allocation assault rifles. That means that the targeted loot here is assault rifles. You can also, the missions have targeted, but then it shows up on the left there as it shows there Richter and Kaiser. You can actually farm for pieces. Now, of course, the Providence pieces here I have crafted. Same for the Palisade piece that I have here. I've crafted and just crafted them and just, you know, recalibrate some stats onto them. Cheska and Grupo are not craftable yet. you could, the way I've gotten these is just, I got lucky and just had some drop along the way. And you will actually take up some time. That in total maybe has taken me 2 hours to get, especially the high-end weapons here. Emmeline's Guard was on the vendor, for instance, but yeah, it does drop quite regularly. But actually, the weapon that I will use the most is this AR. ARs are nice, you have a little bit more range, and here going with the talent in sync. In sync doesn't require much more than just your turret and your drone to trigger it, and I will actually use my turret and my drone for this run. Also because I have them graded up pretty high, so they are actually effective. I don't need a revive hive, not in the DZ, that's not a handy thing to have per se. Having these things be extra things that can damage enemies is actually quite useful. Yeah, you might as well, sometimes from this cache, you might actually get a decent weapon. Gearing up is a thing that you just need to do once. Crafting wise, it's pretty easy. One thing as well, as we'll go discuss that, seeing as Yaahl has been removed from the clan vendors, as apparently that wasn't their intention, they figured that out a little bit late, let's say, into the game, as that's been around for a while. But there is still other ways to get Yaahl. You will have the blueprints. You can get those from well, Hollow Man, of course, from Descent, but you don't need Hollow Man. Just the Yaahl parts. They will come from the blueprint pool. There's mask, chest, holster, definitely. You can craft purple Yaahl. You will need currency for this. So for this, you would need to either do some bounties at lower levels, or with the method shown earlier with the countdown that we did. You can craft these Yaahl pieces, and well, high-end Yaahl pieces will give you 1 part per deconstructed. With purple Yaahl, I would say the ratio is for every 5 parts deconstructed, on average, you'll get around 3 parts. It's not a great way to get the parts, but if you just need a few parts, this is a way that now exists still. As yeah, these purple ones, they don't require any Yaahl crafting pieces, but they can give you Yaahl crafting pieces. And of course, outside of the currency for this one, the rest we can get from all of the other resources we can get from watch alts on this account, because yeah, we do have account shared resources. So when I deconstruct this, I was hoping, yeah, although there we got way below average, as I deconstructed like 8 masks or something, and I got just 1 part. But that's still, you know, that's still, if you need Yaahl parts, one of the better ways, sadly, nowadays. And yeah, you do need, it does burn up a little bit of currency. But then yeah, there are other parts have been just crafted through this, just crafted some provenance pieces. We just have a purple bench here. That's why for the high-end weapons, I did have to go and grind them. You do prefer to have high-end weapons because both you get a 3rd stat with them, which purple weapons don't have. And on top of that, the base weapon damage of a high-end weapon is much, much, much higher than one of purple or blue or such. So yeah. These, the weapons do take some time to grind. The gear, yeah, you can just slap together whatever. I do like having Palisade in there for the armor and kill. That actually makes it a lot more comfortable. And yeah, we're going to take this set. That is a 31 set that we can now equip just by, yeah, like 20 minutes of work getting to this point. Although, of course, I have this set at the ready because, yeah, that set will take you some time. Now we're going to go into the DZ, and if you're wondering why the DZ is become the way for solo to level up, the reason is very simple. You have 2 scalings happening here that are very important. First, you're getting, well, you're basically getting scaled to level 40.
Access
the second
complete.
you get into the DZ, that is what normalization is. And because of that, you're getting kill XP at level 40. That adds up really quickly because you have to, at level 31, for instance, a normal kill might be like 200 for an elite.
Safe area entered.
for skilled here will get the same amounts as level 40s, which is substantially higher. I'm actually blanking on it now if it's 2.4 or 2.6k. I think it's 2.4k. It's 1920 for purple. And yeah, that adds up quickly. And also each of these landmarks by themselves as their completion XP either gives for hards, we'll have mostly hards and normal. For hards, we'll have 20% of a level. For normals, we'll have 15% of a level. So 5 of these landmarks by themselves of their XP will be a level. On top of that, we're getting pretty good kill XP. And yeah, I should get my in sync up. Because yeah, actually, when we kill this elite, I'm actually gonna pay attention how much we're getting from him. Let's see that. But that's the reason. And also, we don't need to think about gear. That is the other scaling. Well, because yeah, the XP scaling is pretty good. We're gonna go pretty fast with that. We also don't need to think about gear because the gear that we have at level 31 is getting scaled to 39 without us being, you know, in a group setting at all, which is kind of handy. And it's 2.4 for a name actually. So we don't need to think about that at all. This set will go all the way to 40 with me, and then I'll put it back into stash and just make something random for them. Because all of these pieces are getting scaled to 40, we don't need to ever re-gear or think about gear. Both of those scalings together makes the DZ method the best way solo. To discuss the group method, as we won't be showing that per se here, but we'll only discuss it if you have members that are at 40, if you have friends that are at 40 and you want to help each other out, there is actually that way of just group scaling as we used to do in the past. Because what we used to do in the past is have one person be in the team that is level 40 during a Wony run through Warlords of New York. And the reason for that was the same as well. The scaling of the kills went up by a lot. The scaling of the XP went up by a lot. Also, the players at that point also did not really need to think about the gear until they hit 39 and the group scaling ended for them. All of those things together made that the fastest method. And that method still actually, you can just go through Warlords of New York. It is shorter because you can have it, you don't need to do Liberty per se anymore. Because at the point, Liberty would become available at 40. At 40, you can just get the watch. Now, doing the Warlords of New York method means that those characters that the players are watch-alting, they will be stuck in that way of not having the project until they finish Liberty, basically. So you still would want to finish Liberty, but you can skip all that by just doing the DC stuff. Because the one thing you would want from watch-alts, or the thing that I use watch-alts for, is their points, and you will get their points, of course, with the Warlords of New York, or going to New York. And also their weekly requisition, because that weekly requisition is just a free exotic per character. Instead of 1, I'm getting 4. As I'm getting assaulted from the sides there. So you would want that, and that means, yeah, doing the DC method is better. And then there are, of course, ways of doing it in DC as well, which is, for instance, doing the invaded missions. They just need to, the character just needs to be there for completion, especially because the completion XP is the big XP, of course, for content.
Landmark cleared.
And you can actually have multiple people even helping one person. And through that, you can have, for instance, if you were to have 9 friends, you could get yourself to 31 in the same way that I showed here. You would actually even only need 8 friends, because Lincoln on Heroic with 5 directives is by itself more than a level for a level 40 character upon completion. A level 30 still can't join on a level 40, but they can be invited. So that is the trick to know. The character, the lower level character, can be invited to join upon the level 40. As we have some DZ loot by somebody else there. And you can use that to yeah, do just heroic missions on 5 directives on level 40 characters, and just have the the one being leveled join upon you when you're at the boss room. So for instance, in Lincoln, it has been popular to do that. People would basically run to the end and then just wait at the boss room for the person getting their watch out to just go one by one and getting to jump around on them. Getting to 31, I would still do just, yeah, doing it in between while the others are setting up. You can go and get level 31 by the method shown here. And then you can join them. And then you also have the SHE requisition for one of your levels. Because, yeah, that SHE requisition that we have here, this is by itself 1 level. So you would only need then 8 runs of Lincoln, basically. And then getting the 31, which is pretty easy. And then the SHE requisition as the final one. Invaded missions as well need to be pointed out as being really good for XP. So they can be used as well. I'm gonna go to a different DZ actually. The group method is really good still, and of course as well, you could have actually 3 people jumping to each of the people that are like at the end of a mission. So if you're smart about it and if you're coordinated about it, you could actually get that going pretty easily. The DZ method, though, does not really work in a group. And the reason for that is that the kill XP in a group setting, for some reason, the landmark XP stays the same, but the kill XP actually drops to normal levels for that level, which is kind of odd. And yeah, that kind of breaks it. So you don't want to group up for this. It's really truly a solo method. If you are in a group, there are better ways. For instance, yeah, one person kind of leveling another, and then and the other person leveling the other person back. Because actually doing Lincoln, you can quite easily do this in under, well, a little bit over an hour, I would say. If also in between, basically the level 30 goes and gets Pentagon, and gets Coney, and goes and gets the Com in between each of the runs that the level 40 is doing, to just get more XP in there. Yeah, let's, I'm going to jump to the other DZ. We'll come back here actually once I'm a few levels higher, and we'll discuss kind of running around.
Extraction.
Although in between, I just wanted to discuss here the SHE requisition project. So yeah, as we discussed, don't do it at level 30, at 31 and above, as we see kind of behind my head there. This is now a full level. This is 427k, which is a little less than the level, actually. I hadn't noticed that yet. But yeah, it is close to a level at the very least. It's actually interesting that it is a little less. I'm going to take this at 31. And the reason for that is, as we were talking about earlier, gear is kind of handy. If I had a Memento or a Scorpio or maybe an Elmo, all of those things could be kind of useful actually here. I would actually, AR-wise, try to keep my, I have now an in-sync weapon. I prefer that. But especially Memento, while Memento generally doesn't work from 31 to 39 and still doesn't, in the DZ, it does work. So I'm getting this cash now because, yeah, the other thinking you could have here is instead of taking it here, the last level, of course, from 39 to 40 is the level where the XP cap is higher, the XP required is much higher. The kill XP is going to stay the same. So what I generally do if I want to be smart about it, especially for instance on my second account where I have a lot more of these exotics, I do it towards the end of 38 to just make that jump and then just have the longest part basically be that. Let's open this cache. I got a St. Elmo actually. There is no downgrading still. You don't get the high-end crafting table until level 40. At least that's been my experience with it. So we cannot actually reconfigure anything. So for instance, if I had a capacitor in my stash and wanted to reconfigure it, you can't do this because you need high-end, and the high-end won't become available till level 40, annoyingly still. That will take us up a level, of course, as well. And yeah, we've got a detox actually Elmo. I'll make use of this. A Scorpio would be nice. As well, for instance, actually, on my second account, I still have from before the changes, level 29 now. Oreo, that's actually pretty nice. Regulus, of course, down low level Regulus is very nice. I'm definitely gonna hang on to this level 31 Elmo, and as well any high-end gear, especially on the armor, will be better. Especially as well, we don't have mod slots with purple gear, so seeing as we can only craft purple, this Night Watcher actually doesn't look that unappealing, actually. Although I do want to use my turret and my drone as well, as I have them highly graded. Yeah, let's get up a few levels and then we'll come back in. And while we're discussing the DZ, one important one that I wanted to discuss, which is also nice about the DZ method, is there are these crates in the DZ. If you've been into DZ, you've seen them. There is actually exotic components that you can get from them, but it's from specific ones. There are two types of DZ crates. There is ones that like these, that look pretty pristine and only require one key, as it says there, one Darkstone key. There are also ones that require two Darkstone keys, and they all look actually contaminated with DC62. It's just the bottoms are pretty yellow. You can only get exotic components from these ones. So the ones that take one key and kind of still look clean. And yeah, I don't need keys because this character, of course, doesn't have keys. They just got boosted. What I can do though, is just hack it like that. And when that Gone Rogue goes away, yeah, we didn't get an exotic component there, but it is a pretty regular occurrence. It is a 25% chance. It happens around that percentage, I would say, as well. Sometimes even high above it. We do go rogue, of course, but that's not a big issue. It's not a long timer, and it'll go away pretty quickly. And as well, if you get empty enough DZ, what you will get as well along the way is, and yeah, we do need to watch out for, as I'm running past the checkpoint here. Yeah, we don't want to get destroyed by that. If the DZ is pretty empty, especially if you're doing it in off hours, you will also have the DZ currency boxes littered around that you can grab. And of course as well, you can just grab all the loot and deconstruct it and send that off to become DZ credits. I tend to not do that. I just, while I do, for instance, here and there pick some stuff up, I tend to actually, once I complete a place and want to kind of get out of there, I will usually just run into the first patrol I see and let them murder me if I don't make it to the checkpoint first. And those extra exotic components and that extra currency is actually, I mean, it isn't nothing, especially a few extra components along the run. I've generally, when leveling fully through the DZ, I've had anywhere between, at the lowest, 5 or 6, and at the highest, I think one run was even like 11 or 12 extra exotic components. That 12 was especially because you're competing for them with other players. And yeah, there are sometimes other players. Actually, now I feel I'm pretty solo in here on this one. And that's also an important thing, because yeah, we're discussing DZ. Some people will go like, oh no, it's the DZ, never ever. This isn't the real DZ. This is a bracket from 31 to 39, or well, yeah. And that means that most of the people that we even see in here are also doing the same thing as I am. They're just leveling. They're also looting, of course, but they're mostly just running around leveling, the same as me. They're not here to fight. They're not here to murder. I have had, like, in 6 runs, one person that kind of was in there for the purposes of that. Yeah, we didn't get one there either. But yeah, this is kind of the method. You just run around, get the caches, and especially if you get an empty one, yeah, you can get a little bit more extra currency. Although the currency that you pick up from the small boxes, that goes directly to the character. I haven't really run into enough in there to, like, for instance, get exotic cash. So, you know, you don't get that much from it. So that kind of goes wasted. But if you were to, for instance, if it's very empty, and we'll grab the comm here as well. A little bit of extra XP. If it is very empty and you do choose to, for instance, extract, and yeah, this is the kind of boxes that has the DZ currency. And this DZ currency actually picked up from here directly goes into your inventory, which yeah, our main characters is actually useful as well. Make Shay shut up. Because also on one run I did go out of my way to kind of gather resources and just extract them, and yeah, I got like 130 DZ resources out of that. But because of the extractions and not being able to fast travel, because one thing I will do is, like, if this side of the map is empty and this side has a bunch of stuff, I'll just fast travel onto that side. You will lose all of the gear that you've picked up that way, but I find that a lot faster, and because of that, yeah, I don't actually care about the currency. I'm not going to extract it. But yeah, these are also, yeah, not the real DZs. It's not the full DZ experience, not till we hit 40. Once we hit 40, we will actually get sessioned into level 40 DZ, and you will instantly, although, well, for me personally, I've had it be instantly very obvious that has been the case, as suddenly you're in the middle of a manhunt and everybody's getting frisky with each other. I'm also prioritizing getting hard landmarks as much as I can. As we discussed earlier, these normal ones, they're only 15% of a level. The hard ones are 20. But of course, you take what you get. There is actually one thing that I haven't tried yet, and I kind of want to do it. There's actually two things. One we'll discuss in a little bit.
Now detecting contaminated gear.
The group scaling, of course, as we discussed earlier, is not enough to make it worth it to be in a group. Or it may be, because if you're with a group of 4, it's going to spawn more hard landmarks. That might be enough together with, if you were a group of 4, that might be enough together to just be enough to offset the loss of the XP. But I haven't really messed around with that. And yeah, this, for instance, is the other type of crate. This one, as it looks here, looks very contaminated and requires 2 keys. I'm not even going to pick these. They cannot drop the exotic components, so yeah, you do need to know which ones can and can't. And yeah, this isn't worth it just because also I'm not keeping the lead. We'll return in a second and we'll kind of discuss some outlier tactics that you could use, like descent and using just the SHG requisitions. And I'm jumping back in here as, yeah, we did get a pesty there. I'm level 36. We're going pretty quickly. And yeah, sometimes you do get some exotics out of here as well. This one, of course, I am going to extract, so that will go out. Because as well, on this DZ, I'm completely solo, in a very obvious sense. In the other 2 DZs, as I visited them earlier, there was actually other people. Landmarks were lighting up red. People were going rogue as they were opening caches and stuff. And also, actually, to this point, I've also gotten, from opening crates in the DZ, I actually got 5 exotic components as well. 5 in a row, which is actually pretty rare. Don't think I've had 5 in a row before, but also I usually don't really pay attention to if I'm getting any or not. But yeah, sometimes just keeping an eye on it. We're gonna actually, yeah, we're gonna extract here. While we're extracting, I'm gonna, just for that exotic component, I wanted to discuss some of the other options that we have as well that I tried out. As we did talk about the DZ method, of course, solo, the group methods that exist, especially if you really want to go super speedy. Other things that you could do is the SHG requisition, as we talked about, is a level. It's weekly, of course. It resets on the weekly. What you could do is actually, if you were to have the 3 alts of an account, let's say, you have 1 main, you have 3 watch alts. If you actually stagger them out, 1 every 3 weeks, you would just need to get them to 31, I would say, because yeah, you do need that, of course, for the SHG requisition to be a level's worth. Then actually, every 9 weeks, you could, of course, just get a character to 40. If you stagger them every 3 weeks, having, you know, one starting
Kilo almost
now,
at
and then the
extraction
other
zone.
in 3 weeks, and then the other on 3 weeks. Every 3 weeks, you would have a watch alt. In a very just spending just those resources that you could just get by having those watch alts, first of all. And that seems like a pretty simple method. Of course, it requires a little bit of setup and stuff, but once you kind of get it going, it's just you're spending your weekly SHU requisitions and every 3 weeks. And of course, if you need to accelerate one here or there, you can just jump on them and then just play it. But that might actually be a good method, is to empty out your watch alts, and instead of just keeping the watch alts as full, keeping them, emptying the points out, and then instead, I'm gonna actually not sit here for the extraction. If somebody steals it, they steal it. I don't care that much. But as well, yeah, we did get 6 exotic components extra here. And of course, as well, we would get the SHU requisition, which is 1 more. Although I'm keeping that Elmo, of course, that we got earlier. Another method that I was hopeful for was Descent. Because Descent, of course, is available at starting at level 10, as I recently discovered with my hardcore character. With Descent, you can use that to level up, of course. Now, my first attempt was at level 30. As we discussed earlier as well, for instance, with the SHU requisition, the leveling is different for level 30 and 31 and beyond. So my first attempt actually, this one looks closed, but it's actually it looks open, but it's actually closed. I'll pick that one. And, yeah, I do have a key, but I'm gonna actually just use the picking method.
Contaminated gear detected.
Why wouldn't I? And we got another exotic component. So yeah, we're up to 7 on just the DZ parts here, which is actually, this might break my record of like, I think it was 30
Has been cleared.
on one run.
Hostile patrol detected.
But yeah, going back to Descent, I was hopeful for Descent. The first time we went to loop 8, and I only got 8. Getting to loop 8, we only got a little bit more than a level. So I went from a fresh 30, which just had a little bit of XP on it, to 31 and a little bit. So I kind of signed that off. But then later on, realizing that yeah, the XP is kind of different on higher levels. And yeah, here I'm just going to go to the checkpoint and actually fast travel over to the other side. And this is the reason why I don't keep really the currency. I just fast travel around. And you do lose your... if you fast travel, any items you have in your DZ pouch, they just go poof. But trying it on 31, doing 10 loops got us actually to 33, so from 31 to 33. After that, I did another 20, a run with 20 on that same character. So the character started on 33 and a half, kind of at that point, and we went to 38. The issue still with that method is, at the very least, if you aren't hitting 40 when you're exiting, you're not getting reconstructed caches. And that is, of course, one of the big things as I go to the gate again instead of to the checkpoint. That is, of course, a big thing of Descent. And not getting them is a pretty big downside. Now, what I would love to try is actually if you go beyond hitting 40, because yeah, we went from 33 to 38 on that with further 20. So a combined 30 might, because yeah, the XP on it is likely scaling up, or even going maybe to 35, or maybe starting at level 35 and then just doing 20 might get you to 40. If you do that, and if at that point you do get the reconstructed caches, that might actually be a good way. If you're doing a loop 40 anyway, if you're going for the patch, might as well get a watch out of it, right? But I still need to kind of retest it, because what I'll likely do is get a character to like level 36-ish, 37-ish, and then do a deeper Descent run. The current rotation isn't favorable to that. We haven't had Envy in a while, which is the preferred rotation for deep runs, of course. But next time Rat comes around, I'll definitely try that out. But what we definitely would need is to reach 20 or so, just so while there is still no guaranteed reconstructed caches, going to a 20 and not getting a reconstructed cache at all is outside of the realm of reason, basically. I might even go to 30 where you do get a guaranteed one. So. And then, yeah, if you do hit 40 and exit and you do get the reconstructed caches, that method might be viable. But it kind of depends on if that is the case, which I'll find out and we'll discuss somewhere in the future, not in this video. But the scent, yeah, you could use it, especially if you don't need reconstructed caches anymore, and you just need NSA tag, or just want, you know, the patches as they go, because the patches have been fixed actually, and this account should have them actually, because yeah, the first rogue patches are here. The Nemesis one is still in that weird way where you have to get it at loop 8, so yeah, you don't get that one easily anymore. But yeah, if you're going for a tier 1 patch, might as well get a watch out of it, right? If you have that option. Yeah, let's continue grinding, and actually we'll likely come back close to the end. And we're coming to the end of the journey. I'm level 39. To show again once more, I'm still running the same level 31 gear as is here. I think still 31. That's a nice thing of scaling here in the DZ. Same for group scaling as used to be in Wony. You didn't have to think about gear and stuff. And this landmark clear will be enough for us to reach level 40 as we did there. So at this point, I am SHT level 00 as it shows up there. Quite recently they've changed that method. We're gonna quickly get this one, this last box here, because also as it is, well, it would show it if we weren't getting all of these pop-ups. I'm getting transferred to a level 40 DZ, where we're actually transferring to an actual full DZ in a second. I didn't get another exotic component there, but actually as well, during this run, I did get 8 in total, or well, 7 exotic component drops, together with 1 pestilence. Technically as well, I did also get that Elmo. If I were to deconstruct it, that would have been 9 exotic pieces. That was from the SHE requisition. That is a little bit above my average for a run like this, but yeah, that's a bonus on top. Yeah, let's head out of the DZ here, as let's go get our watch and our watch points with it, because that's of course the real reason why to do this. And yeah, that didn't take too long actually. So the DZ part of it likely took just under 2 hours, if I'm just kind of looking at my stream time and kind of how we started up. Gearing part can also take a little bit of time, as we talked about. Because yeah, this gear, of course, especially the weapons, kind of took me a little bit to get. So now, yeah, we don't have the watch yet. We're still level 30 set up, basically. But once I talk to this guy, even though it just takes me to the menu, at this point, yeah, as you see on my shoulder, I suddenly am the SHT of this account. I'm just gonna spend a little bit of currency there, just or get some currency there just to have that, and we'll take that pestilence that we got earlier and deconstruct it. And of course, all of those exotic components, they were at that time as well. Just there were account shared, so yeah, they were going into the big pool of this account. So you do actually get them, as we have Anna in the background being annoying. We'll add that one into there as well. So at this point as well, we can upgrade our bench. This is the point where it allows it so far to upgrade the bench to being of high-end status. And this character, of course, is now basically done. One last thing we wanted to discuss is this is a different targeted that this character has from normal characters that would go through Wony. So seeing as we never went to Warlords of New York, and never went to New York in itself. If you do go there, you will lose this SHG requisition, which we do want to keep, of course, because we want to weekly like this character while I'm spending the points in between and getting through these points. I'm going to get some SHG requisitions in between. If you go to New York, you will lose that. That's also one of the reasons to farm the DZ and not the Wony anymore for that. If you start Wony, you have to finish Wony. Then you do get the level 40 targeted. You get the level 40 projects, because these are also the level 30 projects for those that, or what used to be the old World Tier 5 projects. Because yeah, we have 2 projects, a daily and a weekly for theater, a daily and a weekly for campus, and then a Dark Zone one, a Conflict one, and a Dark Zone and Conflict weekly. Or a daily for Dark Zone and a weekly for Dark Zone and weekly for Conflict, as it was back in the day. So yeah, with the DC start, we're keeping that, which is quite handy. But also, yeah, we are keeping a different targeted. So that can be very handy because, of course, I can just have somebody join me and then I can go swap characters and join back on them and have this world. If we set it up, because yeah, at this point we have the options of changing world difficulty and such. Except yeah, because of the Anna, it's locking that out. Having this different targeted, especially for instance for bounty cheesing, as I've often done, or just farming different things, as I do pretty much enjoy farming out in the open world. We have a separate targeted available, so you can have 2. you can have 2 tastes from the cake, and that's quite handy. That is actually a thing that has really helped, and we've used that a bit for some bounty cheesings here and there, or just open world farming, especially for instance. Southwest is really good, and West Potomac is really good for activities and running around. So if there is no good targeted on the normal level 40, this is technically the old World Tier 5 targeted loot. So I'm gonna still keep it, calling it that, the World Tier 5 targeted. And yeah, it is a separate one. It is completely different. And then as well, it has, for instance, from the new brands, it does have Aegis, it does have Breaking Point, it does have X-Zero, and the brand sets that came with those seasons, so the last 3 seasons basically. But none of the added ones from the seasons before that. And that means that, yeah, it does get a lot more, for instance, yeah, weapon types and the gear slots. Because yeah, there's a lot less in this targeted, so a big part of this list is not in there. But that also makes it so that this character is, for instance, less useful if you want to use this method for your first time through or something. I wouldn't recommend this. I would go through Wony fully, because yeah, you don't have basically all the way from here: Strikers, Eclipse, Hunter's Fury, Rigger, Heartbreaker, Umbra, Hotshot. You don't have any of those. Also, yeah, you don't have Cavalier. And as you can imagine, especially yeah, Strikers and Hunter's Fury and stuff, those are not showing up in your target. And also, if you go to Countdown at this point, if I were to go to Countdown with this character, these targets would not drop, because the game kind of is in a weird state in that way. Same for actually the brands that came with that, which is the Grupa and Cheska can drop, but a lot of basically, yeah, Walk, Bell, kind of this section doesn't kind of drop well. So yeah, you don't want to be in the state for your main character, but just for an alt, it's perfectly fine. Yeah, let's take it to a conclusion. And to conclude this video, that went a little bit long, but there was a lot of information to get out there. This I'm going to also use kind of as a TLDW, too long didn't watch, the summation kind of. And that is that the new methods are actually a lot faster than the old methods, especially solo. But even in a group setting, it is just in all ways faster. The way to do it, especially for a solo player, as we showed here, is to go through the DZ method. Now for that, getting some gear together will be a one-time investment, going through and getting some parts crafted, but then especially the weapons, because high ends are very much preferred for it. You do want those to be high ends, and that means actually going out into the world and farming for them. You do have targeted available at 31, even though it doesn't show it. So you can actually target ARs and just farm a little bit at that level 31 and hopefully get a good piece that you then can keep for future runs. And then the gear you can craft. You could also craft the weapons. It isn't significantly slower. It feels good to be really overpowered and that you can quickly kill the enemies, of course. I pair that as well with turret and drone, and especially going in sync as well on the weapon. That works actually really well for landmarks, as landmarks are, kind of defend the areas kind of fights. So a turret and a drone work really well, and they help kill faster. A reviver hive is not per se necessary, because if you even die, you just go back, you just fast travel back to get reset to a checkpoint, and you're back into the fight in seconds. And yeah, getting this one time done with the gear is pretty handy. Then, of course, as well, putting on some items into your stash with your main characters, just so you can sell them with this character or with your alt character to get some currency. That can also help with this crafting and such, make that a lot more easy, as you could do bounties, especially at 31. At 30, they are not worth it. At 31, they are. And as well for the gear, if you have the talents and such, if you have played World Tier 5 characters in the past or such, that you have some stuff in the library for 30 to 31, which, for instance, on this account, I really don't have anything there. So I chose instead to go with the 31 to 40 library, which is this one, where I'm only actually now noticing that I'm still missing Brazen. I should get that in there. But because of that, I can recalibrate stuff, and I can put talents on things, making 31 a much better choice for me. And then, yeah, getting to 31 is pretty easy, as we showed. We just go get the Coney mission. We go get the initial part of Pentagon. We go get all of the comms in Castle, all of the comms around theater, and you're basically there. You just likely may need another activity. What you could even do as well is there's a bunch of comms around the White House that you could grab. There's also a bunch of quick comms next to some of the missions that you could try to memorize. Then we get to 31. So from 31, we put this gear on and we go into the DZ, because from that point as well, that gear will just take us all the way to 40. The scaling will kick in, and we don't need to continuously upgrade. That helps a lot. You'd be surprised how much time you need to invest in just upgrading stuff as you go when you're normally running, a Wony run or something. Because you want to, while you don't care about a build per se, you do want to equip the best that you have, and especially equipping level appropriate weapons. None of that is required in the DZ. And then, yeah, especially hard landmarks are the preferred ones, because they give 20%. The normal ones give 15%. And doing it solo in the DZ, completely solo as well, not joining a group, because then you do lose the kill XP. The landmark XP stays the same, but the kill XP is actually scaled to 40, meaning that elites and names are giving 2.4k, which is a lot more than the 200-ish or so that you get from being a level 31. And all of that together makes it that you go pretty fast. As a run like this, once you have done the setup part where you do have a build ready, which I, for instance, have on prepared now for the 2 accounts where I do use watch alts, that part, it depends. It can be as long or short as you would want it to be, because, how good do you want your gear to be? I've kind of settled here for good enough, and good enough on those as well. And that might take an hour, maybe 2. But then once you get going with the run, this is around like 2 hours 20 minutes to get from 30 to 40, including the initial part where we have to get to the White House and do the boost to 30, which takes around 10 minutes, including as well going around and getting the resources for getting that SHG requisition. And yeah, that SHG requisition is then as well best saved for 31 and beyond. If you have already the exotics that you want to use for 30 or 31, because if you have the gear if you in the past had a World Tier 5 character, you will have, gear that exists from that, although most of that is changed to be 29, but that doesn't matter for this method. Any gear below 40 is going to get scaled to 40 basically, when you enter the DZ. So using those old level 29 items now, that used to be from the World Tier 5 characters, that works perfectly fine. And if you don't have, for instance, a memento, because I would love to have a memento on this character, that would be actually pretty helpful. Memento solo work is pretty good. As long as you don't have it, you can use this on 31 on 31 to maybe get some of those items. That maybe a Scorpio, maybe an Elmo, maybe. Otherwise, if you have those tools, save it for late 38, where you just use it to get the longest level, basically shortened, because the kill XP in comparison to the landmark XP, of course, scales and basically stays 20% of a level for a hard one the entire way through. Of course, the kill XP kind of is getting smaller and smaller in comparison because it's staying constant. That might be the best way to do it. And then, yeah, in a group setting, level 30 characters can now be invited. Actually, any level character can be invited to a level 40's world. That can be set to heroic with all the directives on. At that point, just doing, especially missions, land activities don't seem to scale as well as missions do. Especially quick missions like Lincoln stand out, and also things like invaded missions, especially if you have some of the faster invaded missions available to you. Something like a DCD, which is pretty quick, actually, an invaded DCD, or an invaded Lincoln, or several, other short invaded ones. But that is a one-time thing. So they do get a one-time bonus to that invaded mission. That helps a lot. And then, yeah, Lincoln farming, because Lincoln you can quite easily get to in 8 minutes quite consistently, even shorter than that. But especially because you do need it to be on 5 directives, that slows it down a little bit. And then, yeah, the player that is below level, that is sub 40, they just need to join for the boss fight, really. And you do need them to join before you actually engage into the boss fight, because otherwise you don't get the XP. If they, for instance, in Lincoln, join after all of the bosses are dead and they just go up the elevator with you, they don't actually get the XP. And yeah, that is basically now the two methods, the two faster methods of leveling, either solo or more so in a group setting. As we talked about, yeah, there are also some other tricks, as using the SHG requisition just continuously and just over time, over 9 weeks, basically, per character, you can get a watch alt up. But of course, if you stagger them, if you take the 3 slots that you have available and you stagger it out, you have every 2 weeks, you have a watch alt. For some people, that may be more than enough, so you could just do it that way. Descent, as we talked about, isn't really a good method, especially because you don't get the SHG or you don't get the reconstructed caches unless, although that needs some testing, but the guess is unless you hit 40 when you exit. And it is pretty slow, as we discussed. Hitting a loop 10 was basically just 2 levels. Doing a further 20 loops afterwards on that same character went from 33 that it was all the way to 38. But maybe if you're going to loop 40, that will be more than enough. So if you're already doing a loop 40, you might as well, maybe, but maybe check first if the reconstructed do work, which I'm expecting they will. But I'm going to do more testing on that. So yeah, that kind of concludes this whole in-depth look into watch alts, as we went pretty in-depth and discussed all the things and stuffs. And yeah, if you did enjoy this video and want to help out, if you can do any and all of the algorithm things down below, that is much appreciated and does actually help out pretty well. For a future video, we'll be going into some actually some hot takes, as I have a few prepared. Although they're not that hot, especially if you've seen my content and stuff, but mostly just talking about some concepts that some don't understand, I feel, and we'll just discuss some of those. And that's going to, in some future as well, be followed up by a build showcase on joke builds. So I hope you join me for those, and I hope you enjoyed this one. And I'm just going to end it off here by saying, as always, have a good night.